Weddings-ish, 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 with Jove.
I couldn't be more excited to be joined in studio by actor Bobbi Salvo Menuez. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you
Oh my
did.
God,
You did.
yay.
That was perfect.
I tried so many times. Listen, you got to get it right. When your name is Jove, like I get called Jove, Jove, like nothing correct.
Yeah.
But Bobbi, it's so nice to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you too.
Tell me about your name. Where is this name from?
Well, the middle name is Icelandic. It's
Okay.
the first name of my great grandmother.
Okay, beautiful.
Who raised my grandmother.
Okay.
And then the last name is actually Basque.
Oh.
So that's why it's like feels sort of Spanish.
Yeah, I was
but not
wondering.
quite.
I was like, is there some Spanish blood over here? Okay, it's from
yeah,
Basque.
somewhere in there. But yeah, and the Salvo like has the umlaut over the O. So you're like, what's going on there? But yeah, people often are like Salvador Mendez.
Yes.
They just like go for what
your brain.
it's like, yeah, when your brain fills in the blanks.
100%. Well,
I
it's
get a lot
beautiful
of
name.
variations on it.
I'm sure. Do you just accept? Do you correct people or do you not?
It depends on the context.
Okay.
How important is it? You know?
Yeah, at that moment.
Yeah.
I'm in the same. Sometimes I'm like, call me Joe. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't need the V. Well, you are here because I'm obsessed with your wedding.
Thank you.
Like we've never met before, but your wedding, like I was jealous I wasn't invited. And I just wanted to dive into that a little bit later. Your ceremony, I mean everything, but I have to pause because I want to get to know a little more about Bobbi.
Okay.
You're an actor.
Yes.
And you're born and raised here in New York City?
Yes, that is correct.
I feel like that is a rarity.
Yeah, the combination or just being born
Being
and
born
raised
in New York City. Like most
Yeah.
of us come here
It's
seeking
true.
shelter or a new life from somewhere else. But where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn.
Oh, in Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah, born in Brooklyn, born and raised. Yeah, I was born in a hospital that doesn't exist anymore called Long Island College Hospital.
Has to be weird.
Yeah, it is weird. But I think now, like in the same building, it's like an NYU hospital or something. So it's not that weird. But
sure.
yeah, born in Brooklyn, raised between Brooklyn and also the city. My parents split up when I was like 7, and then my dad was living downtown. And I moved out of the house when I was 18, mostly always lived in New York. But then actually 6 years ago, I moved into like the rent stabilized apartment for my childhood. So now I've done like
you won a lottery or it's still from the one you grew up in?
The same lease that
you had.
It was like my parents and then my mom had it. And then my mom was like, I'm moving upstate full time.
So you won the lottery.
So I won the New York lottery.
I mean, in New York City, that's like major.
Yeah, which is part of why I feel like, I'm never going to leave
you
now.
Can't. But is it emotionally weird to be back in your childhood home in like a good, neutral, or negative way?
It was at first.
Yeah.
Especially, but I've been there now 6 years.
Okay.
And my partner, my husband, has been there with me now 5 years.
Got it.
So we've really kind of like made it our
your
own.
Yeah.
And then there's like little kind of remnants from my childhood
Of course.
that are sweet. And I thought it was like I moved in there thinking like this is an opportunity to like really like look at these things and work on these relationships and like heal whatever is weird here.
And we all have some healing to do, 100%. We just don't do it in the same space, but that's amazing.
It definitely supercharged that.
Yeah. And do you have a small, medium, large family?
It's kind of like, it's very bifurcated. So I have like step parents, half siblings, both my parents and my step parents, all of their parents, next generation, all split up.
Wow.
Most of them new partners.
Okay.
And then like, my mom's from Iceland and like, there's so much family there. The family there is like huge. There's so many cousins and great grandparents who like live forever. And so it's kind of a big family if you like zoom out. Yeah. But in another way, I was like an only child till I was 12.
Sure. So not in
small
some ways.
and big. I don't know.
Yeah. And does that give you any fear or worry that everyone in your family is divorced? My family is the same. I'm currently planning my wedding. Or is it not something that you think about?
It's something I think I used to feel more hung up about.
Sure.
And then I think just in the relationship I'm in now, I just have a lot more like confidence in my like ability to show up in romantic partnership than like in my, early 20s
Previously.
reasonably.
Well, who could do that at that time, really?
Yeah, I definitely like used to think I was like, oh my God, I'm doomed. Like it's never going to work. But
sure.
Now just like not being as worried about that, I'm like, I think we're good actually.
Yeah. What you have is yours and not what came before you.
And I don't have a complex about like if, 20 years from now, I'm in a really different place in my life and my partner is in it really, you know, like if that's what happens, that's happens also.
You're not
and
hung
like,
up on this one idea or notion of it.
No. And also, my partner and I would also joke and also sincerely say before our marriage, like, oh, I'm so glad I'm marrying someone who I feel like we would have a really like nice divorce.
Yeah. Oh my God, stop it.
People say is a good thing to be like marry someone you can imagine having like a civil, nice divorce with. Like, I'm like, we would have a really
We're going to have a tea party divorce. I've never thought about that, but you're right. Because that shows the kind of person you are and they are. And if you're going in thinking you're going to have a contentious divorce, then what kind of person are you marrying?
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
I want to be like, like at our ugliest versions, it's still loving. And so that.
Still kindness.
Yeah.
At the core.
Exactly. So I feel like that. I feel really confident in my relationship.
I love that. I love that. And so how did the two of you meet?
We met through just mutual friends.
Okay.
I feel like
a blind date setup or
No.
Okay.
We were both in other relationships when we first met. And it wasn't a romantic charge right off the bat, but it was very like we clicked, you know, in some way. There was definitely a vibe. It was like dinner with friends and we were both with our partners at the time. And like the one cute kind of thing between us was that we were the only two people who were like insistent that we got dessert. Everyone was like, no, I'm good. And we were like, no, we should get the cake.
At the end of dinner when everyone's like, I don't want dessert.
Yeah,
you two
the
both.
two of us kind of like locked in and we're like, no, we should get the cake. Like the cake looks good, right? Like, and we were
chocolate,
like,
vanilla, what was it?
It was like, I think it was like a semolina kind of olive
oil
cake situation. Yeah, it was really olive oil. Yeah, it was really something good. And we both love food and like have worked with food in our creative lives and them in particular. So that definitely like was
the
sort
cake
of
was the sweet tooth was bonded you together. I'm that person too, and I'm usually the only one because everyone's like, no, I'll have another drink. I'm like, no, I want dessert. I want to like complete the meal. So for you to find someone else, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And then how did it develop from there? Because you were both in other relationships.
Yeah, I mean, we both were kind of like, you know, in shared orbit. We really got along as friends.
Yep.
And then it just kind of was like about a year later, we were both not in those relationships, had been out of them for some couple months or something. And sorry, I'm like worried I'm going to burp because of the bubbly water. No,
let it out.
Yeah, we'll see. No, but we had both been single for some amount of time. Or like not in a committed space, I would say.
That's a better. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You know, both being people
semi-available,
who, you know, are available and can be polyamorous at times. And there just was a summer where we were kind of like suddenly around each other a lot more. Also upstate, actually.
Okay.
You know, they were doing the BARD program, the summer program, and I was like staying with a friend as a part of this like poetry thing, and we were just hanging out a lot, and it was suddenly like, wait a second,
it's more than
friendship.
I
think there's something else going on here. But something clicked in the summer.
Is there a moment you remember when it like went from friendship to beyond friendship?
There were a couple like kind of signs. There was something that I think should have been more of a sign than either of us were like ready to maybe like acknowledge at the time, but we ended up having a sleepover kind of in a friend context, but where we shared a bed.
Very friendly.
Very friendly. Very friendly. But shockingly, the only thing we did was hold hands.
But that's the sweetest thing.
We held hands the entire night. Like
slept.
We slept holding hands. And in the morning, woke up and we were still holding hands.
No.
And I was kind of like, that was definitely a moment where I was like, okay, something's going on
happening
here.
That is the sweetest story ever.
It was kind of unbelievable. There was a lot of things like that around that time where it was like, you know, when we first started, we're kind of starting to date.
Yeah.
Like they came to meet me in this like little field, and it was a field of clover, and they were like, oh, I've never found a 4-leaf clover. And then they went like kind of jokingly what they picked up was a 4-leaf clover. There was a lot of like signs from the universe being like, keep going.
Yes, like this is the right path for both of you.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
And so you've had 3 proposals.
That's true.
I am obsessed because I've had 2 proposals.
Which is more than usually people do.
Yes, it's usually more than they do. So walk me through the first one. Who proposed to who the first time?
I proposed first.
Okay. How long had you been dating at that point?
I'm trying to remember the exact timing. I think we had, because I'm like, I think we got engaged 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So we had been together like 3.5 years.
Oh, wow. So you had a long engagement before the
We
wedding.
had a long engagement. I'd say it was like about maybe 2 years, kind of like getting engaged about 4 years in.
Yep.
Maybe a little less.
Sure.
But yeah, we were having dinner just like at a local Thai restaurant in our neighborhood. Just like super.
What's your Thai order?
Do
you have a go-to or you kind of?
At this place, I usually get the pad see ew.
Okay. The thicker noodles.
Yeah,
for
the
those
thicker
who don't
kind of
know.
wide noodle.
Okay.
Yeah, with veggies and stuff.
Deliciousness.
Delish. But and then also like a green papaya salad to start.
Ooh, always good.
Love that.
Always fresh.
Fresh. Yeah.
When I was in Thailand on the street, they're like $1. I just ate them nonstop. It was like the most delicious. Anyways, now I want Thai food.
Now
it's
I'm like,
clearly
I
lunchtime. I know, me too, right? Okay, so you were at a Thai restaurant having pad see ew and papaya salad.
Yes, exactly. It was just kind of like a very
An everyday night.
Kind of night. And it's sort of like maybe we were talking about the idea of marriage. I just sort of got inspired in the moment and like it took over my brain and I was like, I want to propose right now.
Wow. Like you did not pre-plan it.
Was
You
not
just literally took you over.
And I just went for it and they thought I was maybe joking at first, but I was like,
dead serious.
And they figured out I was serious.
Wow.
And I didn't have a ring prepared, obviously, but I was wearing this ring that I'm not wearing right now, but that I sometimes still wear, which is like my great grandmother's ring on my dad's side. It was like this ring that I'd gotten from my grandmother that is just like has a lot of energy and was like, take this as like a for now kind of, you can wear this for now.
And how did they respond? Were they totally shocked or
they
like
were surprised? I mean, the energy was kind of more comedic than like super serious, but it was also clearly like this was serious.
Yeah, you meant it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was very sweet. They were surprised and said yes.
I love it.
And it felt like it was really a secret at that time.
Yeah, just the two of you in the Thai restaurant.
Yeah. And then I was like, kind of afterwards was like, oh no, I really want to do it with like a ring. Now I like really want to like do the real thing.
Like a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I reached out to my friend Evangeline, who makes jewelry, and it was actually her first ring commission. She was like
ever?
Ever. And
no pressure. It's just my engagement. It's just my engagement ring.
But I've known her for a really long time. And like she had mostly made sculpture. She still makes sculpture, but she had mostly been making sculpture and then was kind of more newly making jewelry.
Got it.
And everything
but it's a similar vein and you love her aesthetic.
Exactly. I was like, she gets it. She's a good friend. Like we can talk about this in like a deep way.
Yeah. And create something really unique.
Yeah. And so that's what we did. And it was like a really beautiful, it has like a big kind of like baguette cut garnet, like horizontal set. Like I wanted to find something that felt kind of masculine, but also festive in that kind of like engagement ring
the
way.
Spirit of love. Yeah.
Yeah. And we landed on a really, beautiful design of her design with some of my kind of like input. And and then I surprised Corey one morning. I had like kind of planned it to be this day where there was like some kind of special full moon. I don't remember the details of now, but at the time I was like, this is the perfect day.
This is the moment.
I think it was like in Cancer and
Got it.
Somehow it seemed like
the universe was like, this is the time.
This is the time. Yeah. And it was like shortly after Christmas, I think. And we were on Gabriola Island, which is this island in the Gulf Islands of Canada, kind of
beautiful.
Around where they grew up.
Okay.
And also it's a place where when we were first getting together, within like a month of getting together, I met them there on a trip.
Got it.
When they were kind of like
a pre-planned trip you joined?
It was a pre-planned trip for them that they had kind of invited, like, whatever friends want to come. But then, like, suddenly we were more than friends, and I was like, I still want to come.
I want to hold your hand at night.
Yeah, I still want to come. And I did, and it was really special to, like, have this moment at the beginning of kind of, like, falling in love and being outside of New York in, like, a different little
environment and a world that is special to them because they grew up there.
Yeah, exactly. And so we were there again at this time. And so that's where I proposed to them. And I like.
And all your friends were there.
No, not this time.
Oh, you were just the two of you?
It was just the two of us.
Oh.
But then when they proposed to me, there was a lot of people there.
Wait, I'm confusing this. So you didn't propose in Canada?
I proposed in Canada.
But I thought that was a group trip.
No, sorry. I'm making it confusing.
That's fine.
The first time I went there was a group trip.
Thank you.
When we first got together.
Clarified.
In like
and
2018.
Then when you went back, it was the two of you.
It was the two of us.
And you proposed alone.
And I proposed
on a full moon.
On a full moon.
In the moon of Cancer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly. You got it.
Got it. This is beautiful. And that to you felt different than the first time, like more serious or more.
I think just like I'm someone who feels very connected to like the material realm and like the like what materials are communicating or something. Yeah. And so I think having a ring that was like made with the intention of this, and it was like just made for
that's the purpose
this
of it,
person
for them,
yeah, with this kind of like gesture and message and like question in it felt more, I don't know, effective or something.
100%. Yeah, that's beautiful. And then they counter proposed.
Yes, and then they.
I love this. I think we need to start a new trend of counter proposal.
I think so too.
It's so sweet to be proposed to, and it feels amazing. But you want your partner. You know what I mean? Like I wanted my partner to feel the same thing. Yeah. So when did Corey counter propose to you?
They counter proposed a couple months later, and it was actually on my birthday. So I was really not expecting it at all. I was like, and that's why we had a bunch of friends together. It was kind of like in this beautiful little like utopic moment where like everyone thought it was like before the COVID wave, after people got vaccines, where we thought, oh, we've all been vaccinated and none of us will ever get COVID again.
Yeah, that naivety of that time frame where we were like, we could do anything we want.
Period of time where it was like, I hadn't like really gathered together with people in that way. Yeah. You know, and so it was like it was just get very sweet. And there was just happened to be like friends in town from Berlin and LA. And it was just like kind of like special people in my life just so happened to be in town. And it was this perfect little kind of gathering. And it was very low key. It was like I was barbecuing. It was like very low key kind of event, I would say. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Corey shows up with 2 zebus, which if you're not familiar with what a zebu is.
I was just going to ask you. It sounds like an animal, but I assume it is not an animal.
It is an animal.
Oh, it is an animal. Okay. I was like, is this okay, tell me more. What is a zebu?
So a zebu, I would describe it as a miniature humpbacked cow.
A miniature humpbacked?
Like
a baby camel cow? Like humpbacked as in like
it just has like a little.
Okay. How big are we talking? Like, 30 pounds, 20 pounds,
big as
70
a large
pounds?
dog. Like
Okay.
Like they can vary in size.
Is this a pet or an animal on a farm?
I honestly don't know. We had first encountered them at a state fair some years before.
That feels appropriate.
Both agreed this is an extremely cute animal we're obsessed with now. Yeah. And somehow also because, the reason they were able to get them was because they found the like people who bring them to state fairs, but there weren't state fairs happening because of COVID. So they were like, we don't usually do private events.
Sure,
but like
we need some money. We're hard up for work.
So we'll come and just bring these 2 mini cows on
I'm dying. This is the cutest thing in the world. I'm Googling this immediately after we finish.
It's worth a Google.
So they were at your birthday party.
So suddenly Corey shows up with them and I'm like just flabbergasted. And they're like, here, can you hold the leash for them? And I'm like, what? I'm just like, I had just been like solo on the grill, just like in the zone for a second. And then they're like,
these
come
zebus
over
show up. I can't.
It was really, they really like kind of took it to another level.
Yeah, a whole other level. And the sweetest gesture also.
I know. And so then I take the leash and I'm like, what's going on? And then suddenly they're on one knee. And then I look around.
The zebus are on one knee?
No. They should have trained them.
I was like, Corey trained the animals? They were all on one knee?
They would if they could.
Corey, thank you.
Just Corey. Just Corey's on one knee. I've got the little 2 mini cows on the leash. And then I turn around and all of my friends and family are surrounding. They've all like come outside of the house. And they all have like different colored smoke bombs going.
Oh
and
my gosh.
They're crying. And I'm like, I'm crying. Because Corey had told them.
Sure, what was going to happen.
What was going to happen.
And they all kept that secret from you. Nobody told
really
you?
well.
Yeah. Isn't that shocking?
Good job.
Yeah.
I struggled to keep secrets.
Same.
and do surprises. It's really stressful.
If you tell
to
me information that's private, I will tell at least 1 to 5 people. Just so you know.
I think it depends on the information sometimes,
Yeah.
but like if it's my secret,
Sure.
that's a lot harder to keep.
Yes. Yes.
For me.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you were totally blown away. That's
I
a
was
lot
totally
to
blown
take in
away.
at one time.
It was very it was like sensory overload in a good way. And yeah, I just was crying and said yes.
Oh my gosh.
It was really sweet.
I love that. I love that it was super tailored to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And your proposal to them was tailored in a space that was meaningful in their life, in your relationship. And these animals, I'm literally like, I have so many questions, but this is not a podcast about animals. So we'll move on from that. So you said yes. And then you didn't have this gorgeous wedding that I cannot wait to talk about until 2.5 years later.
Yes, about 2 years, a little over 2 years later.
So this was 22. So we're out of COVID.
Yeah.
You just tell me you wanted some time, or you didn't want to get married right away, or you...
I think it was exciting to savor being engaged.
Yes, I agree.
Like being fiancés. And
a lot of people skip that part, I feel like.
Yeah.
They're like, we're engaged, get married.
Yeah, I thought of it as its own thing, instead of just being like, it's not just like in order to get to getting married.
Sure.
And I think it took time to process, like, also like what kind of wedding, how do we feel about that? How do we want to do it? How do we want to do it in a way that doesn't feel like it overextends our like energy in a way that's stressful?
Sure.
Or resources, you know? And so, yeah, actually the date for the wedding, so I think it was maybe the summer after the counter proposal that we went and were on a meditation course together. And on the meditation course, because we both sit this kind of meditation vipassana that we like are really into meditate. We just love to meditate.
Beautiful.
Anyway.
Because you did that in the wedding. Before the ceremony, there was like a mini.
Not that kind, but we did like a little guided
mini
meditation
guided meditation
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we both are into
it's
meditation.
Your thing, totally.
Yeah. And so
I don't know how to do it, but I want to know how to do it.
I think you might.
If I'm guided, I can do anything, but alone with myself, forget about it. My brain is like...
Well, if you've done guided, you've done it.
That's true.
I feel like there's a lot of like ideas around meditation where it's like
misconceptions.
Or just like this idea that you can't do it unless someone tells you how to do it. But I think like it's simpler than
everyone thinks it is.
Everyone thinks it is or something. And that's what's so like hard about it. Is that it's so simple.
That it's so easy.
Yeah.
That you're like, this should be more complex because it's meditation.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's but it's not that.
I mean, there's lots of different kinds. I guess maybe some are more like that. But
yeah.
Anyways, we were at a meditation course and I just like had the date kind of like come into my head that it was like 8/8/24. It was like August 8th, 2024. And so after the meditation course, because it was a silent meditation course, we weren't talking. But on the tail end, I was like, hey, I weirdly had this idea for a date for a wedding while I was meditating. What do you think? And they were like, that's 2 years away. That's kind of far. Like,
even for them, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, that seems so far away. And I was like, yeah, but in another way, like, it's not that far away.
No, it's not. And we love each other and it's not going to change anything. Like, there's no rush to the altar.
Yeah. And honestly, a year later, we were like, oh my God, it's a year away.
Because you didn't do anything in the first year?
Yeah, we didn't really do any planning the first year at all.
Yeah. You were like, we have a date. Yay.
Yeah, we started telling people.
Okay.
Especially people who didn't live in this country.
Yes.
Because later that year or something, timing unclear, we were in Japan and I have really close kind of like family, friend people there.
Yeah.
And also when we were visiting family in Canada, like when we started to see people, we were like, hey.
Save the date.
Save the date. Before we sent out the official save the date.
Sure, everyone got an oral save the date.
Oral save the dates for people who like, it would be more for them to plan.
Yes.
So
they have to fly around the world.
Exactly. So.
Which they must have appreciated a year or two in advance.
Yeah.
That's very thoughtful.
Over a year in advance. I thought that was helpful.
Yeah.
It made it possible for like, our friend in her 60s to like come from Tokyo.
And to plan appropriately instead of this rush, last minute, expensive ticket. Yada, yada, yada.
Exactly.
All right. So pro section, lots of time for travelers.
Yes. Lots of time for travelers. And then I feel like planning actually started a year out.
Yeah.
And then it really kicked into gear like 2 months out in like a really intense way.
You were like, it's here.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
August is around the corner.
Yeah. It snuck up fast.
And your wedding to me felt like a beautiful community effort of friends more than hired vendors. Is that
is very
accurate
true.
to say?
That is extremely accurate. I mean, that was both the result of like that feeling like the kind of like spiritual, energetic, correct answer, but also like financially the right answer for us.
Yeah.
Because neither of us come from a lot of money or like had a ton of money set aside for the wedding, but kind of like in this kind of like faith that we're going to figure out.
Yeah.
And even if a way to make it work, and even if we kind of both were on the same page that like, even if it doesn't like go our way, that's not the point
of
necessarily.
The day.
That's not the point of the day.
Why you're doing it.
Yeah. And it's just like, we're going to do our best to do the biggest version of this we can.
Yeah.
And we'll see where that takes us.
But to me, that was the beauty of all of it. It's really like you have very talented, creative, and good-looking friends. I mean, I like zoomed in to the design, the food, and then I was like, oh, who's this cutie? Sorry, Kyle. But I was like, wow, this is amazing. So the tent, I have to start with the tent. The pink fabric everywhere was just gorgeous. How did you come to pink or decide that that was the vibe?
I mean, it's so interesting because so much, I mean, I love to collect images and like, you know, create mood boards and stuff like this. And like, I work sometimes as a creative director. And so this is very like familiar territory for me.
This is exciting for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, the amount of mood boards I made, I can't even, like, I'm like, there was one for the cake and one for this.
I'm sure. I want to see all of them.
Oh my gosh. But so there were a lot of kind of ideas, but then so much actually was also dependent on like what other kind of friends and guests brought to the table.
Yeah,
so
literally, figuratively and literally.
So we just got a ton of pink fabric for free.
Got it.
And we were like, we love this pink fabric. This is going to be, this is what we're doing to the tent.
I love that.
Also, we were kind of like ambivalent about having to have a tent. We were like, it'd be so nice if we could just be under the stars.
Of course, that's the dream.
Also,
but nature is not always so kind.
You know, we were like, we always had a tent kind of like on the list of like, we probably need a tent just in case. And then like, as we got closer, it was like, it's probably going to rain.
Need a tent.
We definitely need that tent. Let's think about how we make it feel good and
like
feel cute. And feel
not
like
just a bright white tent in the middle of nature.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I mean, we brought on our friend Chloe Young, who usually works in production and fashion. And so, and that was kind of, we thought about it, you know, we never had like a wedding planner per se. You know, a lot of the kind of like wedding planning tasks Corey and I did together.
Got it.
But then like our team, our kind of like
was
more
all
official
your
team.
friends.
It was like our friends. And then like we had Chloe Young produce, and then our friend Nico Koppelman was kind of the food coordinator because the food we did in this kind of particular way that included a lot of different contributions and contributors.
Not like a typical catering scenario.
No, not at all. Not at all. Which I was really happy with. The food, the food was incredible. So good. So good.
Because everyone brought their best dish or their best food format?
We didn't ask all of the guests, but we kind of reached out to specifically friends who work in food, our chefs. And we were like, if you were to want to do a special dish for this, what do you want to do?
I love that.
Yeah.
Literally, what would bring you joy to cook for this party?
Yeah.
Instead of, I want pigs in a blanket.
Exactly.
Got it.
Which made for a very eclectic menu, but somehow it all like worked together, even though like thematically it was unclear maybe, but it was just like.
But it was delicious.
It was delicious. Everyone's dietary needs were met somehow. And there was like more food than we even needed.
Was it family style or buffet, or how did you
we did kind of like, we had like appetizers, family style, kind of like installed on the table. And then the like main courses were buffet, kind of this long kind of like installed buffet table.
Beautiful.
It was really fun.
So the ceremony.
Yes.
That floating ceremony moment was gorgeous. Just like the gentle movement on the water. But the point, what really drew me in was seeing you run to the ceremony. I don't think I've ever seen that in my 16-year career, ever. And I want to ask you, why? How did you decide? What drew you to that decision?
You know, I'm surprised people don't do it more. It was my feeling about it. And Yeah, I mean, the kind of like floating structure, that was like something we had an idea about a long time ago, to have something kind of floating on the pond, and like almost like a canopy bed, kind of huppah sort of
And the
structure.
fabric was like flowing really beautifully. It was all white too.
Yeah,
like
it was
the
all
stark
white.
contrast of that with nature and the water was visually striking.
Yeah, that was really fun. And like, and then the run, I mean, our friend Tourmaline was our officiant.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to this process, I didn't realize how involved an officiant might be actually in the prep.
Sure, in crafting.
Yeah, in crafting the ceremony. And I was so grateful that we had asked Tourmaline, because she did such an amazing job. I really felt like she really supported us to make the ceremony feel so authentic and like transformative, really, as an experience. We would meet with her like once a week for a little over a month.
Wow, to really sort of pour yourselves into the process.
And also just like as queer people, as trans people, to be like, what of the customary thing,
if anything,
resonates and what doesn't,
Sure.
you know? And I was surprised, actually, a lot of those elements, I was like, we don't need to throw it all out with the bathwater. You know, there's a lot here that I'm like, oh, I like vows. I like a ring exchange. This is meaningful to me. Like,
and I can tailor it to us. Like every couple should.
Exactly.
I feel like queer, straight, black, white, like those traditions are meant to be tailored.
Definitely.
It's not one shoe fits all. You know what I mean? And it's not like a queer wedding does this and a straight wedding does this. Like, we should all do what makes us happy and brings us joy. And like, that's it. To me, like, that's the future of what it should be.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful that you resonated with some of those traditions and then personalized them.
Yeah. I mean, it's a ritual, it's a ceremony.
Yeah.
It's like, it's something that has like a kind of abstract, emotional, social, spiritual purpose, you know? And so there's a lot of room, I think, to make it your own. And I
100%.
think the more we made it our own, the more meaningful
it was for you.
It was,
and for everyone listening and watching, because they know you and they're like, oh, of course, this feels like they would do this.
Exactly. Like people who were there, who are our like closest people, were like, this is so, everything about this is so you.
Yeah.
And the run was just an extension of that. I mean, when we were talking about walking down the aisle.
And who walks with who or when.
Yeah. We had decided that for the processional, that like for family and wedding party guests, we just wanted to kind of neutralize it, that they would all be kind of like flower girls of their own interpretation.
Yes, someone had a painting of flowers as their flowers.
I know.
I die for that person. I was literally like, you took this to another level.
Yeah.
And I'm obsessed.
I know. That's Kelly and Delise. Kellyanne always takes it to another level with the styling. You're like,
all of it. A literal painting of flowers. Like everyone else had one flower, 3 flowers, a bouquet of flowers, a flower crown, but like a literal, like beautiful vintage painting that was large.
It was large. It was large. I was like, this is so next level.
It's a vibe.
Kellyanne knew over a year out and was like, I need to think about my outfits.
Yeah. Like that was the joy. They're like, we're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
So they all came in with flowers.
They all came in with the flowers, and like we're throwing the flowers, and it was like the first where the little kids kind of led that processional, and then we just, I don't know, we just arrived through conversation that Corey would walk first, and then when we were talking about it, I was like, I just have a feeling I might want to run.
Just came out. You were like, that's my instinct.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to commit to that in advance in case that doesn't feel right. But I'm just naming that that's what I think I want to do.
That's what your gut is telling you to do.
And on the day, I was like, yep, this is exactly what I want to do right now.
And you like ran. I mean,
really
it's like, I've never seen anything like it. It was so beautiful and joyful and like, to me, I was like, the energy you're feeling, for anyone who's walked down an aisle before, like you channeled that in a different way than most people do.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's also like, you know, I am an actor, a performer. I've worked in like, lots of different kinds of performance spaces. And so I have a relationship to my body where like I know, or I just have a relationship to my body where I can like understand what I'm like somatically feeling and like what different choices might be for what
and
to
how
do
they'll make
with
you
that.
feel.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, there's so much adrenaline. There's so much adrenaline kind of like pumping through me in that moment that just kind of like running felt like the most authentic expression of that kind of like I don't know, just to like kind of like have this like diving in head first
Yeah.
energy and like this kind of like yes to the moment, like
With everything you have, like literally,
yeah,
it really moved me because everyone else's choice is usually a very slow walk, one step, slow. Like that's the typical choice. And I
yeah,
don't judge anyone for that. It's what's happened for a long
yeah.
time, as
I'm
we
sure
were
there's
saying.
good reason for it too.
But for you, I just literally was like, I'm obsessed. I need to know everything. I want to know more. Like, should I be running? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I
Is
hope
this like
more people try it.
Yeah, like it was so, the joy emanated from that photo in a
Mhm.
way that was just pure beauty and joy that I'm just not used to seeing. I obviously have everyone getting married, it's beauty and it's joy, but there's like a stress and there's an uncertainty and should I cry, and they have someone on their arm, but you were just
Yeah,
free and
yeah,
like it was gorgeous.
yeah.
I
And
hope this is a new trend for people.
me too. And I had chosen shoes that actually are for dancing.
Yeah.
So like moving was really
Yep.
easy. And even though I had this long train, it was really the outfit was very open in the front.
Yeah.
And so
So you could.
I could move. There were bells in the peignet, so it really like made this
The
like
sound?
noise that was really fun.
Oh my gosh.
And I think
Everyone heard you before they saw you.
yeah. Yeah, you heard the jingling
Uh-huh.
and yeah, and we had a really long aisle in a way because
That
it was
was my
just a
next
big
question. Like, where
field.
were you? Like, how
I
far
was
is this
just
run?
tucked behind some trees, but it was an extended
Yeah.
kind of aisle, longer than normally you'd have if you were indoors somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I think also there was something about like a wedding can feel very serious.
Yes.
And it felt kind of like there was a way in which that choice felt like it kind of like broke open.
Yep. The mold.
It just
Mhm.
like broke open the
The
seriousness
moment.
a
Yeah,
little
of
bit.
what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, and like let it be like this can also be playful and
Yeah.
like, it feels getting married felt very adult,
Mm.
like it was a very adult thing, but I also wanted to like include, like my inner child,
Yeah.
in that experience
Yeah.
and like what the fantasy of that like inner child might include.
Yeah.
As a part of like
That
the
moment.
day and that moment.
And it should. And I think to me, every part of your wedding felt like this is authentically who you both are, and the love and creativity of your friends and your community that you've built. And like, that's what it should be. Like, I think a lot of times you hire a vendor and you ask them, like, what's popular, what's trending, like, what should we do
Mhm.
for our wedding?
Yeah.
When really, I think the answer is inside of everyone. Like, you should
Yeah.
do what resonates with you and what makes you happy and what is an expression of your style. But your wedding kind of like showed that in a way that I was just so excited about, because not everyone, people may want to do that, but they're afraid.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in the world and culture that like suggests it's not safe to like be your authentic self all the time, whatever
Mhm.
that means.
Sure,
Because
to
that
you.
means a million things to a lot of different people.
100%.
But in my experience, for the wedding and then beyond that, I think like people being themselves in the most whatever way that means, like doing the most them thing is usually
Yes.
the most powerful choice.
100%.
In my experience of like witnessing other people like
Yeah.
making work or choosing what they're going to do with their lives,
Yeah.
in a moment to moment way. And also, yeah, like this wedding, I think we were also really inspired by our friends who got married. I think it was a year before, who then came and smoked a whole pig. Our friends Cherry and Silver.
You had a whole pig?
We had a whole pig smoked.
There's nothing more delicious, I have to tell you. And it was like
Yeah.
rotating?
No, it was on a huge smoker and it was
Oh, like a full smoke.
spatchcock cut.
Uh-huh.
I don't
Down
know
the
as
middle.
much about.
Open.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
But yeah, our friend Silver
Wow.
Yokovozi and like his husband Cherry came up from North Carolina where they have a restaurant, amazing restaurant named Junior's, and like
And they smoked
this
a
was
pig.
their idea. They were like, we want to smoke a whole pig.
And
This
you're
is really
like-
romantic to us to stay up all night long the
and
night for your
smoke
wedding
this animal.
and like camp out under the
Oh,
stars while
wow.
we're tending the flame. But their wedding the year before was the first kind of like tea for tea
Mm,
wedding I had ever gone to. I've been to other queer weddings,
sure.
but just like it was someone that they're people that I related to in different ways that I just was like so moved by their wedding and like I was inspired and was like,
and their decisions and their choices.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to fall into what's familiar or what you have to do or what you think you have to do. It's always a little harder to just sometimes do what you want to do.
Yeah, and it was fun to see also with them, like they're both, like grew up in the South and like kind of, really embraced certain kind of like traditions, but even the thing is that I feel like even when I or other people I know, like you do the thing that is like the traditional thing to do, but if you do it in your own way, it still
spin.
Becomes something new and special.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, that was inspiring. Definitely that like, oh, we can like do a wedding and like, I'm starting to understand like what the appeal of having a wedding is.
Our own way. Like we have the freedom within this construct to do what we want to do.
Yeah. And it holds this kind of like, ancient meaning, of like, what does it mean to gather your people, whoever those people are, and to like have them witness
that moment.
This moment of like making declarations of love in front of other people. It's like, it's not something you get to see in culture very much, like all the time.
Yeah.
Outside of weddings, like I feel like the couple is like a secret society that you don't get to know what's going on inside
until
of
you're
like, and so I'm like, I want to see people give vows every day.
Yeah.
More,
I love vows. When people don't do vows, I'm secretly really sad.
Oh, yeah. I've never even imagined not doing some version.
Yeah, I'm like, make me cry. That's why I'm here.
You're like,
you know what I mean? Like, I came here to cry and eat and dance, but I came here to cry.
Yeah.
I was also very obsessed with your makeup.
Oh, yeah.
And the eyelashes. Can we just dive into those like magical creatures that I think were also your own hair?
Yes. It was an idea from my friend who's a makeup artist, Kennedy, also goes Callie Kennedy. And Kennedy is just a genius. And we've been friends for a really long time and we've worked together a lot. And I'm kind of particular about like how I like my makeup. I'm not someone who wears makeup generally.
Yeah.
And so I want it to feel like transformative in this kind of like other dimensional way.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember when she first had this idea about making custom lashes for me, because she makes different kinds of custom lashes for different kinds of looks.
Yeah.
But I don't think had ever done it with like someone's own hair.
Yeah. That's where I was like, wait a minute, rewind.
I know. Yeah. But then she was like, I want to make some ginger lashes for you. But then we were like,
where can we find those?
I think we were initially joking about it being my own hair, but then she was like, wait, no, that's what we should do. Because then it'll match, actually.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard. There's so many different kinds of ginger, whatever. And so, she had this idea and she was in New York before the wedding. And so I like had just had a haircut and like, put a little Ziploc bag of my hair like in an Uber to her.
I'm dying.
and then on the day she showed up and she had like prepared these little kind of like
perfectly made
little pieces that were ready to, I really, my friend who did the hair, my friend Sean, was like, when I told him about it, because I was like, oh, it's kind of like wig adjacent. And
on my
he
eyes.
makes wig. Eye wigs.
Yeah.
Eyelashes are eye wigs. I don't know.
Maybe we're starting a brand new company right now.
It's called
Mail your hair to us and we'll make eye wigs. I don't know why I'm involved in this, but
no, you can, sure, why not?
I'll be the creative. No, you're a creative. I don't know. This is a great business idea. Anyways, your friend that did the hair
was like, this is so pagan. I was like, I hadn't thought of that, but I love you. He was like,
but
that's so pagan of you guys to do your own hair, but on your eyes. And
it's amazing.
Yeah. And also we had made this potion to be a part of the ceremony, which is kind of more like a tincture.
Okay.
With our friend who's an herbalist.
Yeah.
And in that we had created these.
For you or for the guests?
For the guests.
Okay.
And for us, we all had it together as part of the ceremony.
That's beautiful.
As kind of like a collective
libation. Ceremonial. And that was your own thing. Like that's your own tradition that you created.
Yeah. But in that was the essence of a double eyelash wish between me and Corey.
The essence of a wish.
Of an eyelash wish.
Not actual eyelash.
Not actual eyelashes.
Essence of a wish. Okay.
But essences are kind of elusive, what they are, and how you make them.
Sure.
But it's like water infused with the energy of the eyelash wish.
Which creates,
And so eyelashes were already kind of like, there were a couple levels of like
this was a theme that was building.
Wishes.
Yeah, I love this.
And so, yeah, Kennedy just, I don't know, did such a good job. And
it's mesmerizing. I was like, these
really
eyelashes
fun.
are like beautiful butterflies from another land that I've never seen before, and like sculptural and just fantastic.
Yeah, very insect-like in a way that I liked, you know?
Yeah,
like
praying
kind of
mantis
antenna.
almost. Yeah, there was like a vibe. I was like, I'm obsessed. And I was also obsessed with your cake.
Oh, yeah.
You had a silver star cake.
Yeah, it was a star cake. A lot of people have been like, it's a pentagram. I was like, oh, I didn't intend it to be a pentagram. But
I got star personally.
thank you. A lot of people like, they're doing witchcraft because it's a
they were
pentagram.
just adding all these things together, making a story that's not real.
I know.
You wanted a star, it was a star.
I just thought it was funny because I had never considered that. But it's funny because my friend Jen, who made the cake, was like, I actually had to use a pentagram calculator
to be able to
figure out how to make this star cake.
So it's pentagram adjacent.
So it's I guess stars are pentagrams, is what I'm realizing.
So everybody's right in the end.
Yeah, but
and you didn't just cut it normally. You got on the table.
We got on the table. That's true.
Tell me about that. Was that pre-planned, or you just felt it in the moment, like we want to cut it from on top of the table?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. It was, we had a friend perform a song, our friend Hayden. And initially that was going to be on the table. We had kind of built the table out to be really kind of wide so that it could also work as a stage.
This is the dinner table, or?
The dinner table, kind of the head. So the dinner table was like one big U, but at the kind of head of the
was
U.
where you sat.
Was where we sat. It was really wide. And so that could work also as a stage. But then kind of like with other things, whatever, there were like things kind of shifting and changing, and we were really flexible, honestly, about certain kind of things moving around. The performance ended up not happening on the table.
Okay.
But we still were really kind of excited about this idea. And it was like, also everyone had already eaten dinner.
Yeah.
So it
and you knew this stage table was there.
Yeah. We were like, this needs to be activated.
Yes.
And so we were kind of like, I think we should cut the cake on the table.
I love that.
It'll make more sense.
Yep.
And, you know, we took off our muddy shoes and got up on the table. And then
cut the cake.
Yeah, and cut the cake. And it was wild because our friend was doing the fireworks.
Okay. That happened as you cut the cake.
Yeah, but it was like kind of like because the scheduling of things had shifted around because of the rain a little bit. Like the timing of like the fire, like that wasn't on purpose, but it was kind of perfect.
Like worked out perfectly.
It was like so exciting. We were like, what's happening?
Because
like,
you weren't expecting that.
No, we weren't.
My gosh.
And it was like we hadn't cut the cake yet too. It was like we were like getting ready to cut the cake, and then all of a sudden fireworks, and
that's
we were
amazing.
like, whoa.
You're like, look at what's happening.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And then we cut the cake, and yeah, it was really fun.
And you tied the knot?
We tied the knot.
Literally.
Literally.
Tell me everything about literally tying the knot.
Yeah. So we have a friend who is named Hinako. She is also known as the Rubber Queen of Tokyo. She has the largest latex collection in all of Asia.
Wow.
She's a very esteemed kind of like fetish researcher.
Okay.
And like
latex aficionado.
Latex and kind of like all things fetish and shibari. And she's just a really good friend of ours. And she came from Japan for the wedding, and she's just so skilled at shibari, and that's something that we both really like.
Yeah, and for the novices, shibari is?
Shibari is the Japanese art of rope tying.
Great.
So bondage would be how we would think of it
Love
here.
It. Tie me up.
Yeah, and I mean, tying the knot, it's, you know, it's
you
funny.
couldn't not.
We couldn't not, and she's
was it
so
her
talented.
idea or your idea, or everyone kind of like, it just
idea.
naturally made sense? Oh, your idea. Okay.
It was our idea. We were like, oh, she's coming all the way here, like, and she's so amazing. And we were like, we should just ask her if she wants to do something like during the wedding as like part of it. And originally we were going to do it back on like the floating structure.
Like during the ceremony.
No, we were never going to do it during the ceremony.
Oh, you were going to go back to that area.
We were going to maybe go back there later, but then it didn't make sense. But yeah, we wanted to kind of like wait till the kids went home because it was a little bit more sexy.
Sure.
Definitely. So like it was like a late night thing. I think we did that at like 1, 2 in the morning.
And
like,
no one knew except for the three of you that this was happening.
Yes. I think maybe 1 or 2 friends who had helped plan were like in the know, but it was kind of more of a surprise thing.
So people were like, whoa,
this
is
what's
amazing.
Going on? Yeah, it was really fun. And it was just like a little, you know, we just got like kind of tied together with like our hands kind of, it felt very like kind of representational of like marriage
to
again.
becoming one.
Yeah, it was very, you know, and Yeah, our friend Alima was DJing, and it was this remix of Nasty Girl playing, like, right at that moment. I was like, couldn't be more perfect.
This is what we need to be doing right now.
Yeah.
This is taking hand fasting, which is where they tie two people's hands together symbolically in a ceremony to a whole new level.
It was honestly just like that, but
with
a little
your
more
bodies.
kinky.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, that's the joy of it. It's like you got excited. Now you have a story. You have the meaning, and your friends loved it. You kept a secret, so you can keep secrets.
Yeah, I can. When there's like too many potential secrets, I'm like, who knows?
Yeah,
who to
but
tell?
that one. And you did have a lot of kids, I noticed, which I think was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Was that because a lot of people are like, I don't want any kids at my wedding. It's not for kids. Kids ruin weddings. There's a lot of feelings around weddings, but I notice in your imagery, like so many happy, gorgeous children.
Yeah.
Was that an intentional decision to include them rather than not?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think like, I don't know. I appreciate people of all generations, you know, and like I have memories of like being really young and being like involved in other people's weddings and it being really like, it's a special kind of occasion, obviously, you know, obviously.
And even if you're not fully aware, you remember it.
Yeah, you remember it. It's like a special memory that you get to have. And yeah, I mean, to me, it's like it was for like the wedding wasn't just for us. It was like also like like something we wanted to do for our community, for our people that we like have all these different kinds of relationships with. And so we wanted to, just like include everyone was kind of like the energy that we had. And I think it, you know, I don't know. I just was like, it's so fun for them.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's so beautiful. I have been like a staunch no kids at a wedding for a long time.
Yeah.
But in all of that time, I've never thought about the kids until this moment. Honestly.
I mean,
I've only thought about the adults, you know what I mean? And like how they could take away or how it's not for them and there's not, but like you're 100% right that you have this memory as a kid and you don't fully understand it, but it's a core memory for you and you're there and it's love and it's beautiful and you're changing my mind over here. I'm not fully swayed, but I think it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I think also for friends of ours who have kids who like,
and if they're traveling.
It was up to them, you know, if they wanted to bring their kids or not. We weren't like, you have to bring your cute kids. We want them in the pictures. No.
We must have all children attend this wedding. You left the option open.
Yeah, we just left it open. And I think for certain parents that are like single parents or whatever, like that also made it more possible for them to come to the wedding too and like enjoy it and share that with their kid. And
you're really winning me over. I don't like this. I'm very stubborn. But
I mean, it depends.
It's sentimentally it's very sweet.
I think it was great also like that they weren't there all night.
Of
you know,
course,
like
there's
we
a
had
point
a
where they
wedding
have to
that
go to
went
bed.
late
Yes.
and they left.
Yes, when kids need to go to bed and then adults could do adult things, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's very sentimental and very special. And then Corey's makeup, tell me about that. There were some beautiful moments and I don't know if it was not sparkles or glitter or jewels, but like
yeah, there were like similar to these kind of like tiny little jewels that were on
gems,
my face that were actually kind of like little metallic kind of like orbs.
Okay. That you just sort of apply.
Yeah, that were like glued on. They had them like kind of in their ears. So it was these kind of like little kind of sparkles in the ear and then kind of just like clean makeup for them.
Yeah.
And then Sean, who did the hair, kind of gelled pieces of hair down to be kind of like a eyeliner piece. Which I really liked. And so it was kind of interesting that we both ended up having like
some hairography.
Makeup moment.
That kind of connected the two
it felt
of you.
really coordinated, but like not even
but totally
on
different. Oh, and not at all planned.
Their look was not as much
like
planned
happened kind of day of sort of like, what do we want to do?
Yeah.
This
it was
is
like
what
an idea that emerged and they were like, yeah, let's try it. And then, like little kind of gelled pieces and
It was stunning. And the different outfits. I mean, really, I could talk about this for hours and we just met and I'm deeply obsessed with your wedding. If you were to give advice to anyone else having a wedding really created with and by their community, not sort of a typical wedding of hired vendors, what's some advice you would give? Because pictures are one thing, but the reality of sort of the planning and the organization and the friends and the managing, I'm curious what that might be.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like now there's so many things I learned where I'm like,
I'm sure.
I have so many things I could suggest to people now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think letting go of control is something that might be challenging because
Yes.
it's your wedding.
Yeah.
But
I can't even let go right now, and it's not my wedding.
But it was so liberatory to let go of certain things.
Yeah.
And, like even for the food, Corey and I had been vegetarians till quite recently. And Corey still is like mostly vegetarian, but I eat meat now. And so like at first there was a little bit of like an identity crisis around like having meat at the wedding.
And a whole pig, not even meat, like a whole pig.
And we were like, but then we were like, no, like people will be happy. It's going to be so delicious.
Yes.
Like it's going to be the most delicious thing ever.
Yeah.
And everyone, and like, it feels so kind of like celebratory and ceremony. And like,
and it's your friend's love language and gift to you.
Exactly.
You know, in a way.
Be gracious for like, or I don't know. Yeah. Like trying to be gracious for like, what are the gifts that are being offered, even if they're not what I imagined or something.
Or initially envisioned. Yeah.
Yeah. And that flexibility and kind of like gratitude centered kind of like approach really helped like keep things chill. If something was not going the way we planned or this or that.
Or rain.
You know. I mean, the rain was really, I loved it, honestly. We had to push the ceremony back like almost an hour because it was like really intense.
It was like pouring.
It was like pouring and then it stopped.
Got it. You had a little window
and we could
where
see
you could
on the
radar.
We were like, okay, we should
it's passing us.
We're just going to push
us.
it back and it's going to be fine. And then it was fine.
Yeah.
And then it was like later in the night when everyone was like sweaty, dancing in the mud. Like there was just this kind of magical mist where it was like, I mean, what's wild too about the mist and things is that a couple weeks before I was in Long Island with friends and we saw these fireworks on a really misty night. And it was like something about the way the mist held the light.
Sure, like affects the fireworks.
Yeah, it like kind of diffused
like
the
more
light.
Hazy
and it
than
was
clear.
Yeah, and it was so stunning. I sent a video of it to my friend that was like had offered to get fireworks.
Yeah.
So it was like, I really want to do fireworks as like my gift.
You're like, yes.
And I was like, yes. And then I sent them this video and I was like, if only we could order
mist
to go with the fireworks. And then that happened.
Wow.
And it was like,
yeah,
just like being open for like something
the magic
that
of
might,
nature.
Yeah. And like something that might not be part of the plan being its own little weird miracle.
Yeah.
And just like doing whatever you can to stay present. I think is just, it's like being flexible when things don't go my way. It was like such a gift.
The key thing.
For me. And
things don't always go your way. I mean, that's just life in general. But a wedding with a million moving pieces, like something's bound to go astray.
Yeah, I mean, that's like iconically the thing about a wedding. It's like, oh my God, what went wrong? Like,
Everybody wants to know that all the time. No one wants to know, like, what was the sweetest part? Did you love the vows? What was the most emotional? Everybody wants to know the drama, the horror, the terror. Like, why are we like that? Like, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Well, this has been such a joy and a treat. Thank you so much for sharing these incredible details of your wedding. Where can people find you if they want to follow your journey as an actor or a human?
Yeah. I am mostly on Instagram at hi_it's_Bobbi with an I. And then I'm like, I guess I'm also on TikTok, but I don't take that very seriously. So I'm like maybe gonna hold off on.
Meaning you don't make videos a lot, or you make silly videos?
I make silly videos.
But that's what it's for.
That's what it's for. Yeah. That's true.
Instagram is like one thing, and TikTok's like you're drunk on. You know what I mean? Like it's a different
I like
thing.
thinking of it that way.
Yeah, like it's so much less serious, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like people on TikTok, if you're very serious, that's not for me.
You're like, I'm going to the next person.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling up. No, I'm like, I joined TikTok when I was like, when my sister was 12 and she wasn't allowed to have TikTok yet. And she said, why don't you download this app and we'll make videos together. And so we would make like silly videos, and that's how I first started.
I'm obsessed. So those are what's on there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm finding this and I'm gonna enjoy it. Is there gonna be any wedding talk on TikTok or no?
There is. Actually, some of the wedding stuff
is there.
Has gotten the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, I will check that out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now it's time for Ask Jove, where I answer your questions. Really, anything you want to know, go ahead and ask. I couldn't be more excited to be joined in studio with my dear friend Sloan for Ask Jove.
Caleb from New Orleans is
wondering.
I
love New Orleans.
Same.
I miss it.
Give me the music.
Give me the beignets.
Give me
the
fried
gumbo.
with some powdered sugar. We love it.
Okay, I lost focus. Who are we talking about?
Caleb.
Hi, Caleb.
All right. Caleb is thinking of having a more non-traditional wedding with
Love
no
that.
bridal party and no formal seating.
Great.
What are some tips for making sure this relaxed format works smoothly?
I think just because you're having a relaxed format doesn't mean you don't have planning. In fact, I think you have more. Like you really have to plan the situations and the flow to feel easy for people. Because everyone, when you say wedding, they think a certain dress code, they think it's a seated dinner, they have certain ways that they think about weddings, and that's what it's gonna be. So when you bring someone into a wedding that's a little bit different, sometimes that's hard for people and it takes them a minute. I love it. I think this is like a cocktail style party is what the sound
We get that vibe.
of it. So for those who don't know, cocktail style party is the same kind of format. A wedding in the States is typically 6 hours, one for ceremony, usually the wiggle room for starting a little bit late, inviting ceremony, one for cocktail, and then 4 hours for dinner dancing. So in a cocktail style party, the ceremony's the same and the cocktail hour is the same. It's familiar. It's what people know. It's the 4 hours of dinner dancing that is different. So instead of everybody having a seat, every ass having a chair, you basically do varied seating. So you have cocktail seating, you have lounge seating, you have high tables, low tables, formal seating, informal seating, much more casual. You have dance, music, a little bit longer. So if you love to dance, like this format is for you.
So good.
And guests love it because you have freedom. I think people's favorite part of a wedding is cocktail hour because they get to talk to who they want to talk to, eat what they want to eat, drink what they want to drink. They have autonomy. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm going over here.
Right.
A seated dinner, we're trapped. I mean, I would be delighted to sit with you.
Likewise.
But you don't always get to pick
who you're near.
Who you're
Or
near.
across from.
And sometimes that's a long 2-hour dinner. If it's anyways, cocktail style party, you can flutter around the party wherever you want. You want to eat. I love this song. Go dance on the dance floor. Oh, there's food over there. I want to eat that food. Oh, there's the photo booth over there. It's much more organic. It's much more energetically spread out as opposed to super structured. The key thing is education. As long as people know ahead of time what to do, they'll be fine. So on your invitation, I would put cocktail style party. On your website, I would put a schedule of what that means.
The flow of the event.
The flow of the event. Those 4 hours, what are we doing? So like we're going to walk into the room, the space, the tent, and we're maybe going to have a welcome speech, a couple of speeches, and then special dances. Then the food stations are going to open. The dance party is going to begin. You can eat, you can dance, you can do both. And then we're going to cut the cake. An hour and a half, 2 hours later, maybe more speeches. And then we're going to have dessert and dance the rest of the night. I think as long as people know they're going to get food, they're going to get drink, and they can dance when they want, like they're going to have a good time. But they need to know that. Like there are those people that, you know, they wait by the kitchen and they have this fear that the food
is never coming
or it will run out. So I think the schedule's helpful. Like let people know what's coming up, and then they can prepare themselves to really relax and settle into this new format.
And also provide ample seating. Even though it is cocktail style.
Yes.
Like I love your lounges that you always create at all of your events. Have ample seating. Think about who's on your guest list. Do you have more elderly people on your guest list? Do you have people who have differing abilities and need different types of seating? So ensure that you know your guest list and accommodate for that.
And for the people that are kind of too old school to change, maybe grandmas, aunts, I mean, you know who I'm talking about. Right away, they come to your list. You can do some reserve tables.
Yes.
I wouldn't do more than 1 or 2 because then it starts to feel like people walk in and they're like, should I be finding my table?
Right.
Like they're programmed for that. But if grandma needs a seat and a server to take care of her, she should have that. She should have a place to be all night where people can take care of her. People can come and greet her. A home base for certain people is always a good idea.
Yes.
Otherwise, no one owns any of the seats. You know, like you're sitting over here when you have a taco and then your favorite song comes on and you dance a little bit and then you go to the bar and then there's a high table. You throw your bag on the high table and you go dance again. Like it's energetically moving. It's not stagnant. And I would say like you need seating for about 50%. again, lounge seating, high seating. Don't just do a room full of dining tables.
Because then it's awkward.
Then it's awkward, and then people are then thinking, where's my seat?
Right.
You have to really like retrain the brain, but also visually give them the cues that you don't have a seat tonight because you're going to have so much fun on the dance floor that you don't need a seat. Have a great party. I'm excited about this cocktail party. And I think more and more couples are doing it.
Oh, good.
I think it's like on the rise. We're seeing like 1 to 2 a year where it used to be much more rare than that. But I think it's a lot of fun. And I think if you want to dance and party more than you want like a dinner party,
then it's your option.
Then it's a great option for you. Well, that's it for today. And wasn't that fun? Don't forget to send your questions. Again, any questions, send them our way to hi@jovemeyer.com and maybe I will answer them on air. If you can, send a voice memo. I love to hear your voice.
Weddings-ish.
Thank you again for listening or watching Weddings-ish with Jove. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're also super grateful to Mel Flannery for the music on the podcast. She created, produced, and designed all of the music. And don't forget, you can watch Weddings-ish with Jove on Love Stories TV, YouTube, or streaming TV channel. Visit lovestoriestv.com/live for the list of streaming apps.
Weddings-ish.